guys, and welcome back to the New Tennis Era podcast. My name's Anthony Kirsch. Today I'm going to be talking about the Basel Open, where Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard defeated Ben Shelton. I'm also going to be talking about the Vienna Open, where it was Jack Draper defeating Khachanov as well there in straight sets. I'm going to talk about this week of a couple of ATP 500 titles. Please don't forget to subscribe to QualityShot Tennis if you're new joining in, and please don't forget to like as well. So, talking about some of the finals that went down this week, I'm also going to be talking about power rankings down the road as well, but starting off, let me talk about the Basel final. So the Basel final was between Mpetshi Perricard and Ben Shelton. Two absolutely big servers. I wasn't expecting a lot of long rallies coming into this one. We didn't get long rallies, but what we did get was some absolutely insane serving, particularly from Giovanni and Mpetshi Perricard, who faced 3 break points the whole week. None of them coming in the final. 3 break points came against Denis Shapovalov earlier on in the tournament, and some of Mpetshi Perricard's stats are just completely ridiculous. Here's one of them. Average second serve speed for the week was 129 miles per hour. 129 miles per hour was the average first serve speed on the ATP Tour last year. That was his average second serve speed for the whole week. He hit just 2 double faults in the final. Here, to put that into perspective, Isner's average second serve speed is 114 miles per hour. Zverev's is 105. For an entire week of tennis, he hit 129 miles per hour. Now, is this sustainable? Coming into the tournament, he was on a 4-match losing streak. I don't think he can perform like this every single week, but either way, young player, and this week was a sign that he can pull off some spectacular tennis even within a week's period of time, and he got the title and very mentally strong at the end. Just I'll talk about the match and kind of the key moments, but at the end of the day, he just hit 2 quick serves in succession and called it 2 quick aces in succession at the end of the match, and just called it a week. And he had an incredible week. His first ATP 500 title. He's now 2-0 in finals, both coming this year. Both times coming up clutch and tiebreakers to win both finals. He's the lowest ranked champion in Basel. So it's a great tournament for him. The week started with Casper Ruud, Holger Rune, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Andrei Rublev. Then you have also FAA, who does well at these conditions, Hugo Humbert, who does well at these conditions, Arthur Fils, Ben Shelton. But Mpetshi Perricard is a player that came up on top this week. So I just want to talk a little bit about what actually happened in the final beyond just Mpetshi Perricard served out of his mind, which is really what happened. His serve. Well, first of all, his serve. His serve, he hits it so quickly. Not like his serve is fast, but also his service motion is so it's so abbreviated. It's so quick, and kind of reminds me a bit of Sam Grof's serve, the guy who is said to have hit the fastest serve ever in a challenger, which 163 miles per hour. Whether he did that or not, one of the fastest servers around. It kind of reminds me of his serve. Very, very, very quick motion, but it works. It looks effortless, but it works. Just goes up the line and can crack an ace anywhere in the box. And even if he's hitting it down the middle, it's still nearly impossible to return. And I'll talk about that a little bit as well. Here's some stats about the final before kind of talking about other compartments as well. But Shelton was really good on serve himself. Both of their first serve percentages were really good, and first serve points won were extremely good. The problem for Shelton was that he was 57% on second serve points won, which wasn't even that bad, but that's much more of an opening than Mpetshi Perricard gave him, who lost just about 10 points on serve the whole match. So that was something, and Mpetshi Perricard was definitely taking his chances on second serve return. It also seemed to me at times that Shelton was just a little bit kind of mentally off, and I'll talk about that in some specific moments where I felt like he was not as mentally solid as Mpetshi Perricard was in this match. Perhaps a bit of his confidence was broken by Mpetshi Perricard's insane level this week and in this match. I don't know, but just going into the match itself, here are some of the stats that I want to break down. Here's some of the key moments in this match that I want to break down. First of all, both coming into the match had not lost serve in this event. Neither player had. But at 1-1, Ben Shelton loses his serve to Mpetshi Perricard. That would be the only break of serve that either player will face throughout this whole tournament. But here's what happened at the 1-1 game, which might kind of actually be the most important game of the match. But here's what happened in the game. So the game started with a simple forehand into the net from Shelton, and then he had a few very central serves and some really bad kind of off-kilter forehand and volley errors from Shelton, just easy errors. And Mpetshi Perricard was doing pretty well, actually defending and making Shelton hit shots, but also Shelton was too early with the errors, so it was kind of a mix of both. But also Mpetshi Perricard, good defense, also some very good one-handers, some good backhand slices from Mpetshi Perricard. This was a long deuce game. There are a few of them in the match, despite it being straight sets. There are a few pretty long games from both, and despite very short points. But Mpetshi Perricard hitting good backhands in this match as well, especially at the start of the match in that game. And also Shelton hit a few too many shots, I felt like, down the tee or down the middle, too many serves down the middle or down the tee in the game. And Mpetshi Perricard was very comfortably blocking forehand returns back. And then during the rallies, he maybe went to the backhand a little bit too much. So I don't know. I felt like throughout the match, I felt like Shelton was very close to finding the right rhythm and hitting the right shots, but he wasn't really quite doing it at the right times, and he just didn't really have the rhythm down in his game. And then the 3-2 game was very, very massive again. At 30-all, Mpetshi Perricard just 1 point away from facing just his 4th break point of the whole tournament. His first in the final, obviously didn't go on to face break points in the final, but this was a big point. 30-all, Mpetshi Perricard, he hits a serve out wide, and then comes to net and hits a serve and volley winner. And great confidence for Mpetshi Perricard to come to net and finish off at the net that way. I felt like Mpetshi Perricard was much better at the net than Shelton in this match. That was a big plus for him. Shelton was also pretty good at net, but I felt like Mpetshi Perricard was doing better with more difficult shots, whereas Shelton was maybe not. It wasn't like Mpetshi Perricard was passing him all day and hitting incredible passing shots. Shelton was effective when he needed to, but Mpetshi Perricard was actually a really good skill for him, and he was able to use it to finish off points that it may have been difficult for him to win otherwise. Whereas Shelton, he was just kind of hitting easy volleys, occasionally, even when maybe he would have probably won the points anyway. But yeah, very good confidence exuded from Mpetshi Perricard early in 3-2 when Shelton was trying to come back. And then on the next serve, Shelton confidently pounds back a slice return forehand winner down the line almost faster than the serve, which was a big moment there. But then Mpetshi Perricard, he hits a good body serve which completely catches Shelton off balance, and Shelton very much struggling on his return in general. And Mpetshi Perricard just playing smart, confident tennis. He's hitting his backhand well. After a big serve, he goes behind Shelton as Shelton is exploding right back out of the corner, and he goes down the line with the backhand behind Shelton, which again catches Shelton off balance, and then he puts away a winner coming to net once again. So just smart play, good play from Mpetshi Perricard, and Shelton just not having much at all on the return. And and then what happens again on set point at 5-4, 40-30, a game that could have been tricky. It's an ace at 30-all, and then Shelton once again just a similar thing. I mean, Mpetshi Perricard is hitting very central serves, but they're so fast, and Shelton is just not really doing much on the return at all. I don't think he was guessing quite enough. He looked very indecisive. Honestly, it probably would have been better to just flat out guess sometimes. And he was also probably trying to hit over the returns too much when he could have been a little bit more defensive. And but basically, Mpetshi Perricard's serve is just absolutely insane, and Shelton is just not that good of a returner, so it probably wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day. But, I mean, Ben at times was hitting some good returns, including in that game a solid backhand return winner to get to 30-all, but it just didn't matter at the end of the day. Be here a little bit quicker with the second set, just some key points here that I want to talk about. There's a chance for Shelton yet again at 1-2 30-all. He's in a great position to return an out-wide serve. He has a great clean hit on it. Has it down the line open twice. First on the return, he gets it down the middle, but low to Mpetshi Perricard's feet. So this should have been a down the line shot. He could have hit this for a winner as Mpetshi Perricard was at the net. and he doesn't quite get it where he wants to. He hits it down the middle right at Mpetshi Perricard's feet. Mpetshi Perricard hits a great angle off of this, and like I said, he does well at the net in general, and Shelton has a great look at a running forehand, but he goes for this nearly impossible shot cross court over the lower part of the net. But instead of going for this crazy 1 in 100 cross court shot on this very important point, and he knew it was important the way that Shelton reacted after he hit this, he could have just hit a shot down the line, you know, and I understand that he maybe wasn't quite at his best and maybe wasn't confident enough here, but even if he couldn't find a winner down the line, he could have set up a shot that would be, his next shot could have been a winner if he went line and just got it in, instead of going for this extreme angle shot where he hit it low into the net, but he was just trying for this crazy angle. And Mpetshi Perricard was guarding the net right there, so he really had to do something special to get it around and past Mpetshi Perricard, who's right in the middle of the court. Instead, he could have gone line, and it would have been easier. So there are just a few things where I felt like that was the first kind of sign for me watching this match live, where I felt like Shelton was kind of doing the wrong things at the wrong times, where I felt like he was just making the wrong decisions and wasn't quite there mentally in the way that I would have hoped he would be. And then the 4-5 game in the second set is a great microcosm, I felt like, of the match as a whole. Shelton, in the first point, hits a very flashy, impressive forehand hard down the line for a winner. Mpetshi Perricard just goes right back to work. He looks completely unimpressed. But then the next point, he hits a double fault. And I start to think, hey, maybe Shelton has gained a small kind of mental edge a little bit, and Mpetshi Perricard is thinking maybe he'll hit a crazy shot like that every point. But then, Mpetshi Perricard, like it's nothing, hits 4 consecutive serve winners, including on the last shot, Shelton completely guessing wrong on the serve, and then it's an ace. So, and then at the end of the day, it was 4-4 in the tiebreaker, and it comes down to a forehand volley, a terrible, terrible forehand volley that Shelton hit. Before Mpetshi Perricard blasted 2 aces in succession. I don't know. This point at 4-4, I'll just talk a little bit about this point. This might be the most important point of the match to some people. I would understand why. So Shelton he hit a good serve. He was in an aggressive position, advantageous position. And he should have gone cross-court with his forehand. That was well inside the court. He could have hit even a winner, or at least set up a volley winner. But he went inside out instead. Once again, just felt like he was making the wrong decisions at the wrong times. Decisions that in other points maybe would have been good, but at the points that he was hitting them, Mpetshi Perricard was right there. But anyway, Shelton should have closed the net in way faster than he did. He just kind of waited for the ball, and he overweighted. He waited too long, and the ball fell low, and he kind of just tried to force this winner volley, kind of hitting down on the volley, and he hit it about 4 or 5, 6 feet wide, maybe even more than that. He hit it completely out. So miss hit, and then in about a minute later, the match was over, and Mpetshi Perricard gets his first ATP 500 title and his second title, also second title of the year. Goes up to number 31 in the world, potentially could be in seeding position Australia. Big name to look out for, young guy rising up on the tour. And yeah, overall, Shelton, I didn't feel like was at his best in this match, but he also didn't play badly per se. He served very well for the most part, but Mpetshi Perricard served out of his mind. And, you know, there's some other things I felt like he was doing well, like his net play. I felt like his backhand was fairly decent. And when it mattered, he had some good defensive plays as well. And, yeah, just some errors at the wrong times that cost Shelton, and that was enough when the margins are so small, when it's so hard to win the points on your opponent's serve, like in Mpetshi Perricard. So those moments to really mentally come through really matter a lot. But yeah, that's kind of what I'd say about that. A great week for Mpetshi Perricard at the end of the day. He had 22 aces in 2 sets. He had over 100 aces throughout the whole week. So yeah, overall, very, very good play from Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard to get his second title. Alright, now I want to bring it over to Vienna. I want to talk about the Vienna Open, where Jack Draper had a great week of tennis, and he took down Karen Khachanov in the final. Karen Khachanov just coming off of a title run last week at the Almaty Open, but it was Jack Draper getting the win this week, including with a impressive semifinal win against Musetti in the semis as well, a win against Tomas Mahac, who's been playing really well. So really impressive week from Draper. Really impressive week from Draper. Was very close to giving Draper my player of the week. I'll let you know who did get player of the week later on in the podcast, although you might be able to guess. But anyway, talking about the final in Vienna. So first of all, Draper played incredibly well. Draper just played unreal. Forehand, completely massive shot. Some great winners from Jack. Just ridiculous forehand hitting, hard, deep in the court. He's placing the balls well and smartly, hitting good variety, hitting spots all over the court, catching Karine off balance a lot, using the drop shot. And even his backhand was holding up well too, getting great depth off both shots, which I was not able to say for the majority of the match about Karine. Karine hitting the ball a little bit short. He was also an error fest, Khachanov, although I kind of understand why with Draper on the other side, because he feels like he might have to overplay or Draper's going to be right on top of him and be able to hit winners all over the court. And it was the kind of thing where if Jack had a winner, he was going to hit a winner, you know? It was one of those things. Like, that's a kind of top 10 mentality. If you have a winner, you're going to hit a winner, right? You can't give your opponent anything. They're not going to give you a free gift, and more than that, you can't give them a free gift, right? Because they're gonna hit a winner, right? So that was my thing, and yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit kind of what happened in the match, and go over some key moments, but just talking about some stats. Jack was 11 for 12 at the net. Karine was 6 for 12. Jack much more comfortable just moving inside the court in general and finishing off at the net. That was very clear inside the match. I mean, sometimes you look at stats and they tell you a good story, but it's not. If you're watching the match, it's not perfectly clear that the stats line up. But here, even if you didn't know the stat, you would know that Jack was much more comfortable coming to net than Karine, and was very comfortable coming to net. Karine also went 4 for 8 on break points saved, which is not good. It's not good. Get broken 4 times and on half your break points. Another big one is Draper, 80% of first serve points won. He's been serving great all week. Very consistent off of both wings. And yeah, I just felt like at times Karine was less confident, a step slow, and just constantly moving backwards, which is opposite to Jack. And part of it is he just feels like he can't hurt Draper. That's why he's not confident, moving backwards in the court, getting off balance. And yeah, and I mean that's some of the things I would say. But Draper played a smart match, and here are some of the key moments that I would say in the match. So at 1-1, 1-1. First they have 2 quick holds, both of them. It looks like okay, fairly even. But then third game, similar to the Shelton-Perricard match. I like it when you can find comparisons of the 2 finals that go on in the week. I like finding comparisons in the matches, but in the third game, similar to that one, Khachanov misses a smash into the net at 40-15. He's up 40-15. Up to then, everything was going smooth, right? But he hits a bad smash into the net, and then he hits some horrific forehands to gift over the game. I mean, he hits a terrible smash into the net, and then he just keeps missing forehands. It's almost crazy how he just keeps going for these big forehands he doesn't need to go for. And he basically just gifts the game. I mean, it's the definition of a gifted game. Draper, just fantastic spot serving in the first set. A small amount of momentum for Khachanov at, I think it was 15-30, maybe 15-all and 5-4. And Khachanov has a rare, simple return back on the forehand. Like, it's rare that he has a simple return to hit on his forehand side against the Draper serve. Draper was mostly hitting to the backhand. It was mostly unreturnable serves, pretty much. But he had just an easy return Karine on the forehand, and he just hits another unnecessary forehand long. Like I said, Karine was just an error fest. Draper played really well. Karine, for the majority of this match, honestly played pretty bad for his standards. Just a nightmare level from him for what we're used to seeing from him. But partly Jack made him play bad, partly Karine made himself play bad. It was kind of a mix of the two things. And then the first game, again, Draper breaks right away to start off the second set. In the first game, Draper hits a bad forehand error, he hits a terrible smash, and then he hits a double fault. Those are the first 3 points. And then Draper played a beautiful point at love 40, and this is why I kind of go over specific points, because this I feel is another kind of microcosm of what happened in the match. Draper played a beautiful point at love 40, and this is why it shows that Khachanov is even trying to overplay. Karen goes on the aggressive. He should be winning this point, but his forehand keeps falling a little bit short trying to stay aggressive. He keeps attacking Draper's backhand, which Draper's backhand is hitting hard and deep, hitting defense to offense. And Draper then, Karen finally gets a forehand deep in the court, which Draper right off his heels hits a fantastic forehand, not moving back even an inch. And then Karen just it catches Karen off balance, and then Draper hits this drop shot inside out for a winner while Karen is off balance. So Draper just playing really smart tennis and playing all the angles and of the court, and hitting short, hitting deep, hitting corner to corner, and so even when Karen found a forehand deep in the court, Draper was just able to hit this huge forehand right back at him, and then really catch him off guard. So, and also just hitting behind Karen as he's running back to the middle, and doing a lot of these things that was really, really important for him. And then just kind of speeding up to the end of this one here. Jack wins a ridiculous 17 of the first 19 points in this set against Karen Khachanov on a hard court. Karen absolutely spraying shots still, terrible level, but Jack at one point wins 10 points in a row. This is just a completely one-sided contest, but then wheels begin to turn, gears begin to shift just a little bit. Even as Draper leads a double break at 4-1, he breaks Khachanov to love twice. It says on the kind of Infosys stats that Draper's serve quality went from 9.6 in the first set, his serve was unreal in the first set, to 6.8 in the second set. So even though he was up a double break, Khachanov, it was more about Khachanov not creating any real chances on Draper's serve than Draper playing out of his mind. Draper begins missing forehands. Karen starts working the court more, finding better depth consistently, finding better angles, just hitting his spots better. And Draper double faults to give the second breakaway, and that's kind of what begins to happen. Karen begins to play more consistently, and that's kind of what happened. And then at 4-5, 15-30, so Khachanov is then 2 points away from taking the set, one of the most important moments of the match. And Karen, a little bit less comfortable moving inside the court. He hits a bit of a forehand that's too high, too short, too loopy, than really stepping in and hitting a forehand for a winner. And then Jack hits a backhand winner cross court, and he hits 2 of them in this game to get out of trouble as he wins 3 consecutive points and brings it to 5-5. And this is kind of why I felt like Jack was able to win this match. You can tell Karen is just a step slow and is moving further and further back behind the baseline. And Draper is just aggressive with this consistency, is consistent with this aggressiveness, and there's really not much that Karen is able to hurt him. And then Karen begins to be a little bit afraid of the backhand cross court actually, and begins to push too much with some errors hitting to this side of Draper, and that's part of why Draper was able to break him in the next game. And then there's a deuce game as Draper tries to serve it out, but it wasn't enough as Jack was able to hold anyway. There's a vital point at deuce at 6-5. Karen gets a great return deep in the court, one of the few deep returns that he hit, and then he gets this great kind of stab backhand pass. Jack manages it well off of his feet. And then he guards the net well with a great volley reflex winner, with Karen really close to the net. Karen should have hit a winner and brought it to a break point at 6-5. That would have been a really testy moment. Karen waited too long. Then I think he missed his spot cross court and hit it right to Jack. And but I feel like Jack kind of serving it out also really shows. He also had a great volley on the championship point as well. I feel like this shows just how much Draper has improved mentally. but there would be times before where he would really crumble at the finish line. It almost happened here. He was at 6'5", 15-30, and he hits this terrible volley like right into the net. But then he hits two great spots on first serves, and he hits a forehand winner to get himself out of trouble. So he did some really good stuff at the end of the in that last game that showed a lot of confidence and a lot of mental growth in the mental game. And now after that win, Draper is in the top 15 in the world, and I believe that he's going to be a perennial top 10 player next year. Honestly, I think he's going to kind of stay in the top 10. I don't see why he can't climb even higher than that too. So we'll see. Draper said after this match he wants to mix it up. He wants to be in the fray with Sinner and Alcaraz next year. I think he can do this. I don't know if his movement is at the level right now that Sinner and Alcaraz are at. And I think sometimes he makes the wrong decisions with his forehand, and sometimes it is about the mental side with him, although I think he's improved a lot in that department. And there's some things that I think he's very good at mentally, actually, and his mental game is good in some ways, but I think there are some things that he still needs to improve. But overall, I think that Draper is extremely talented, and I think that recently he's been very good at finishing off opponents, and I think much better than he used to be. And his forehand is an absolute weapon. His serve is an absolute weapon. He hits huge shots from everywhere. His backhand is very good, and he's just extremely talented. He's a talented kid. And I think he wants to be there, and like I said, he wants to mix it up with Sinner and Alcaraz. So I think Alcaraz, I think Draper is going to be very tough for Alcaraz. We'll see how Sinner handles Draper. I think he could handle Sinner. Sinner could handle Draper a little bit better, but I think that Jack could get there. I certainly don't foresee right now Draper getting to the consistency that Sinner and Alcaraz are at. I don't know if he can reach their level, at least in the near term, but I want to see him try. I want to see Sinner and Alcaraz push him, and I could see top 5 or top 10 next year. I think he will be a perennial top 10 player next year, and that's not just me saying he's going to finish the year top 10 next year. I think should he stay healthy, I think he's going to be top 10 for a while, 4, 5, 6 plus years. So if not longer than that, well, where we'll see the majority of his career in the top 10 or 15 in the world, but I think top 10. So I have big praise for Draper, and I think it's quite obvious that he's a big talent. And I think no real reason to think that he's not going to do big things like that. So those are my thoughts overall on the match. And Khachanov at the end of the day was doing a little bit better at controlling the court and hitting angles. But I just felt like at the end of the day, even though Karin began to be more consistent, I felt like at the end of the day, we kind of found out that Draper is just too good of a matchup for Karin. He's too good of a player right now for Karin, where their form is at. And also, Draper is just running with so much confidence, which helped him as well. And I felt like Karin, because of that matchup issue, Karin really still had to push and still overhit to try to win it. And he just doesn't have enough to hurt Draper at the end of the day, and that's kind of what happened. And overall, smart play from Draper and very complete play at the net and off of both sides. So overall, very good week from Mr. Jack Draper. Now I bring it over to the weekly categories. And first I will start off with the power rankings. Number 1 is Jannik Sinner, who didn't play this week. It's his 3rd spot at the number 1 spot in the power rankings. Number 2 is Carlos Alcaraz, who also did not play this week. We will see both in Paris this coming week. Number 3 is Novak Djokovic. We're not going to see him in Paris. I hope we see him in Turin. That would be great. It seems now it's extremely he's at least going to qualify for Turin, and hopefully we see him in the mix. I also keep Taylor Fritz at the 4th spot. Didn't move him down. I mean, I don't see why not. He beat Zverev in straight sets at Laver Cup. He got to the final of the U.S. Open, which was a very impressive run. Got to the semis of Shanghai, which was his last tournament, playing extremely well. He arguably should have won the 2nd set against Djokovic there, but just wasn't quite able to do it. he absolutely hates the conditions in Cincinnati, didn't do well there, but overall he's been playing extremely well. So I think post US Open, or US Open and afterwards, he's been, I would say that nobody else has risen up so much over the last few weeks that I would put them above Taylor, who stays at number 4. I think Taylor isn't getting his dues. I think Taylor pretty much never gets his dues. I mean, Taylor is such an impressive player who's improved so much. And this is his best season of his career. It's been good from the start to the finish. It's been a consistent season. He's had so many wins over top 20, top 10 players. And he's had some big runs. And I think he's not really getting his dues. So this is me giving my dues to Taylor Fritz, who I feel like is having a very underrated season. And I feel like he's pretty much been having an underrated season since the year started. So shout out to Taylor Fritz, who's been doing well. And he's been hitting his forehand, his backhand, striking the ball from the back of the court as well as ever, and his movement and defense has improved a lot. So, number 5, Jack Draper, who gets into the power rankings. He was in the power rankings a couple weeks ago. He really dropped out only because he got injured during one tournament. Then he didn't play for a week or two. But after this week, straight up to number 5 in the power rankings. He's extremely excited about Draper right now. I don't know why anybody would not be. So that's my thing with Draper. Number 6 is Ben Shelton, who got to the final this week. He moves up 2 spots. He was already at number 8 in the power rankings. Shelton is a guy who played extremely well this week. Who did he beat? He beat a really top player this week, who I am forgetting. Beat Andre Rublev. He beat Andre Rublev. He also played an extremely high level against Artur Fils. Like I said earlier, didn't play that well against Mpetshi Perricard, but Mpetshi Perricard's level this week was phenomenal. Beat Wawrinka this week, beat Tomas Echeverry this week, who's never that easy. So Shelton's playing well. I think he was playing well before as well, in Tokyo, in Shanghai, in Laver Cup, in US Open even. He lost to Tiafoe. If he didn't lose to Tiafoe, he could have made it all the way to the semis, or who knows. So and he played extremely, extremely well in that match. So in terms of power rankings, Shelton's going to be high up on the power rankings. Yeah, he's at my number 6. He was serving extremely well this week. Only got broken once. That was in the finals. So shout out to Shelton. He's got a lot of talent. And his match against Fils this week was very fun to watch as well. Number 7 is Karen Khachanov. 2 ATP finals in a row. Kind of has to put you at least in the top 7 in the power rankings. I wasn't that with his title run last week. It was honestly one of the lowest ranked group of players I've seen beaten to win a title. Still very impressive to win any ATP title. All of those players are great players, but I wouldn't have. Not every title's the same. Not every title's worth the same. So, but this week, Khachanov impressed me even more than he did last week. He played an extremely good level. He beat some really tough opponents, and not just beat them, but in straight sets, such as Matteo Berrettini, who had just beaten Tiafoe. He beat Dimnor, and he also beat Nakashima, who beat Tommy Paul. So he had a really good week, and lost to Draper, who was just playing insane. So similar thing. I'm not really discounting them just because he lost in the final. Very good. I almost wanted to put him higher, but I decided to put him at number 7. He could definitely climb up in the near term, though. Number 8 is Artur Fils, who climbs up 1 spot, got to a semifinal. Once again, had a great match against Shelton. I don't really want to knock him down. He deserves to be at number 8 in the power rankings. Very, very good play from him. Very excited. Coming into this week, he had like a 13-match winning streak in ATP 500 tournaments, winning his last 2. So yeah, great stuff from him. Big talent. Tomas Machac is number 9. He's just always playing well. He lost to Draper in 3 sets, but Draper is he probably had the highest level of anybody this week. Machac maybe had the second highest level of anybody. He beat Dimitrov this week, and he played a 3-setter against Draper that was very, very good as well. So I don't really want to knock Machac for that. He's had a great last month or so where he's played a really high level. Got to the semis of Shanghai playing extremely well, so he deserves to be in the power rankings, no doubt. He might be higher if Fils, Khachanov, and Shelton weren't there. But at number 10, I, of course, have Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard, who breaks into the top 10 of the power rankings for the first time. And, he deserves it. Guy deserves it. He came into this week with a 4-match losing streak. That's the reason he's not higher, but after the week he's had, it would be kind of crazy for him not to be in the power rankings. Because when you're thinking about players that are like dangerous right now, it's hard not to think about how well he played this week, how he served out of his mind. Very rarely do you see a player with a week like that, so he kind of has a just immediate kind of place in the top 10 of the power rankings. It did knock out names like Jakub Mensik, did knock out a guy like Daniil Medvedev, who I'm waiting for Medvedev to show me something that he might get back into the top 10, but Tommy Paul also gets out of the top 10. That is partially because of his loss in Paris today as well to Adrian Manarino. That's 2 losses in a row, so not that great from Tommy Paul, who was all the way up to number 5 last week, but that's why he dropped out. That is the power rankings, and then going on to player of the week, Giovanni Mpetshi Perricard hit over 100 aces. He only faced 3 break points. He was playing an incredible level from Mpetshi Perricard, and the serve was it was almost unreal. I've rarely been as impressed by a serving performance over a whole week, if ever, as I was with Mpetshi Perricard this week. He was like easily blasting serves at speeds that were just comical. Over 140 miles per hour, over 145, second serves over 135, just constantly. So, but my match of the week does not include Mpetshi Perricard, who is very good but not that high entertainment value. Who are 2 players that are very high in entertainment value are Grigor Dimitrov and Tomas Machac, who for me played the match of the week in the round of 16 of Vienna 3-set match. Both played extremely well. Tomas Machac in particular, very, very impressive. They were playing such fun rallies, and even if this was 2 sets, it might have still been the match of the week, just because these guys play rallies that are so fun. Mahac's volley is so impressive, and these guys can just hit every shot in the book. The longer that these 2 are in the top kind of 20, 25 in the rankings, the better it is for tennis, and that's what I've got to say about that. I'm actually not entirely sure what Mahac's ranking is, but I know that he's climbed up, especially after Shanghai. So, yeah, good for him. Shot of the week. Shot of the week, I have so I give it to Tiafoe, who hit an incredible drop shot winner against Berrettini. This was at 2-2 in the second set of their Vienna match. They play this really dynamic rally. Berrettini hits the squash shot, that's really impressive. And then Berrettini goes for this backhand pass. It hits the net, goes over. And Tiafoe, it was going to be a very difficult shot. Even though Tiafoe wasn't from the service line when it hit the net and bounced right from the net, it was still like right in front of the net, and he caught it really low from under the net. But what Tiafoe did, he might be the only person on earth that would have even attempted this, let alone been able to do it. But he hit this slice shot that was right in front of where he was hitting it. He kind of carved under it, and he hit this like backspin shot, and he ended up on Berrettini's side, and Matteo gave him the high five, very deserved one, after hitting this absolutely ridiculous shot. Barely knew it was even possible, but this was just a mixture of so many impressive skills, let alone just great kind of foot speed and athleticism. I always think Tiafoe has the greatest foot speed on tour in terms of running down drop shots. At least after Rafa retires, I think Tiafoe has the best foot speed running down drop shots. It's very underrated. His speed in general is very underrated, but particularly his speed moving up the court, getting to drop shots. He can do so many things when he's up there. So, wanted to give a shout out to this one. Honorable mention, Mensik to get the second break in his first round match against Popyrin in Vienna. Hits this amazing backhand pass off of a overhead. That was like a 1 in 100, and I never like when the commentators just are so calm after a shot is hit like this. They were so calm. They're like, a great shot there for Mensik. Okay, 3-0. I was like, react like a person. That was insane. So anyway, I would recommend you look up this shot. Incredible shot. Just look up Mensik Popyrin highlights and also look up that Tiafoe shot. Those are my shots of the week. And now rounding off the podcast with the culture segment, just a few things to go over here. Well, first thing in the news is that Stanislas Wawrinka is not retiring yet. In a year with Andy Murray retiring, Rafael Nadal retiring, Dominic Thiem retiring, Richard Gasquet announcing his retirement, Diego Schwartzman announcing his retirement, just depressing even to talk about. But just especially there's the seismic shift of losing 2 of the big 4 within months of each other, and you just hope that more legends don't retire, so it's great news to see Wawrinka still hanging on, and it makes sense that he is. He played, listen, at the start of the week, he played this insane match against Shelton. If Shelton wasn't at his best, Wawrinka probably would have upset him. That's how good Wawrinka was playing. He was playing insanely good tennis. He's been playing really well recently in general. So, yeah, I mean, Wawrinka's playing well. Also, Nishikori, I hope that he hangs around. Very similar match that Nishikori had against, who was it? Nishikori had against Draper. It was very similar. Nishikori's match against Draper and Wawrinka's against Shelton. But both Wawrinka and Nishikori played insane despite losing. I think it was 7-5, 7-6 was the scoreline in both matches. But Wawrinka not retiring yet, which is the good news. Hopefully he has some good results down the road next year. Some of the other news, well, this one's funny. There's an exhibition tournament that's being played in December between Holger Rune and Casper Ruud, and they have a marketing advertisement which has this insane CGI of Casper Ruud on a boat as a Viking and Holger Rune also on a ship as a Viking, and them kind of going head to head with each other, but the CGI is so bad. It looks like they just printed the face of Ruud with just terrible CGI onto this other Viking from a movie or something. I don't know, but it's just so hilarious how now every exhibition tournament with less budget than the Six Kings Slam is going to try to recreate the same incredible advertisement that the Six Kings Slam did and just completely fail at it. I think it should be an obligation that every exhibition tournament down the road tries to recreate that advertisement or commercial and just fails terribly with horrific CGI, because it is so funny to see this happen. Anyway, I'm not that interested in exhibitions, but terrible CGI and exhibition commercials is amazing. What else can I talk about? Bob Bryan and Maria Sharapova were inducted in the Tennis Hall of Fame. I don't know. I feel like the Tennis Hall of Fame is a great tradition, but not that many people talk about it. It would be great to see more people talk about it. I think, for one, the tournament that was always played at the Hall of Fame is not going to be anymore next year, so that's not going to help matters either. But, yeah, I don't know what exactly could make Hall of Fame more exciting. Gil Gross had a great perspective on Twitter that we should make it more public, the voting more public. I personally think also having more specific parameters of who could be let into the Hall of Fame, with some exceptions, could be a good thing as well, just to give it some kind of official nature about it rather than it just seeming fully random. But yeah, I don't know. I wish that got more publicity than it did. Something else that this is what I kind of want to end the podcast with. So there have been talks of like, oh my God, serve bots are going to ruin the game and ruin tennis, with Mpetshi Perricard winning the title in Basel and beating Shelton in the final. I guess particularly made it a bad image in people's heads. But we've always had serve bots, right? We've always had people that you will classify as serve bots. We had John Isner, Ivo Karlovic in the last era, and they would have weeks where it just felt like they're unstoppable. But the thing about them is, it's hard to keep up that stamina, especially with the kind of the bodies that most of these big servers have, the height that they're playing with, etc. It's hard to keep up a good stamina to go all the way at a slam. I don't think we've really had a true serve bot winning a slam. Maybe back in the day, a guy like Krajicek, like Austin Krajicek, or a guy like Goran Ivanisevic is somebody, and there are people that have had insane serves, like Pete Sampras and Roger Federer, and there are other players to name, but I don't think we've had a true serve bot ever win a slam. And it might happen, but I mean, we've never had anything close to a serve bot dominating the game, for one. And I just don't see it happening, and I think there's a bit of an overreaction with it. But also, a serve is part of the game, to be fair. Serve is part of the game. It's not ideal for entertainment, but a serve is part of the game, so you have to give props where props are due. It's not really cheating. Not everybody can serve like that, even if they had that height too, but the height definitely helps. But yeah, I mean, until I don't know if this level is sustainable. I don't think everybody can get into this crazy serving rhythm every single week, and I think that players like Alcaraz and Sinner, they can who return so incredibly well and who are so mentally tough. When it comes down to tiny margin matches where it comes down to just a few points on whether you can break the server. I think that they're still going to be really tough, just like the big three were against the big servers. And yeah, occasionally they would win, and Mpetshi Perricard, like I said, he had some incredible backhands this week. He had some good volleys this week. So not all serve either, but yeah, until I see proof, I don't think serve bots are taking over tennis. I don't think we've ever seen that before either. So yeah, that's just something I want to talk about. I don't think tennis is in any kind of trouble, and I think that players that are more complete like that are still going to be winning most of the time. I think it takes a more complete game to win a slam most of the time, and potentially I don't think you want to be 6'8" either. So I don't think it's gonna detract from tennis. I think it's good to have a variety of players. I think we're gonna have a lot. Most players are not going to be serve bots, and I just don't think that kind of style of game is going to just completely ruin tennis, because not everybody can have a week like Mpetshi Perricard did. And even if he did, let's see him come up against Sinner at Alcaraz, and then let's see how it goes. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. So anyway, that's been the New Tennis Era podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed. And please don't forget to subscribe to Quality Shot Tennis if you are new. It's been Anthony Hirsch. Please don't forget to like. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.